починаємо другу панель. Добирайте каву, сідайте, починаємо працювати. Так, кудись перший виступаючий пропав. А Білінський?
Білінський десь був, я його бачив.
Бо я ж не знаю його в обличчя. Колеги, отже, ми продовжуємо роботу.
Dear colleagues, we continue our work. We packed a lot in one day. We understand that everyone is busy and you do not have much time. And at the end of a press conference, we will share how we will work further, because this is only a start of big work. Now we have a panel. First, we spoke about what is going on with the budget, and the money should be controlled, and what journalists can do. And we believe that our partner and co-organizer of the conference, Oleksiy Pogorelov, has the answer on this. He's from Media Business Association. And also Svetlana and Katerina, they also analyzed the audience, and we're really glad that you are here today. And Oleksiy Bilinsky, the journalist, and he is here with us today. And now I give the floor to Oleksiy Pogorelov. Thank you for your presentation. Please turn on my presentation. Maybe I will speak about this topic, and I used some information from the research that was carried out in August, and for me this topic is important. So I had the association, and I'm the editor-in-chief, and I have business experience, and I understand what should be done in order to earn money, and maybe this is more the role I got accustomed to, and this topic relates to the topic of this conference. There are several important things that are most important for earning for media outlets. Everything starts with the content, and I put it in a red oval, and other things are interconnected, and the market changes, and it changes actively, and readers change. They use digital platforms that are free, and about traditional print press, this is the only paid channel. Every other channel is free. We pay for internet or for satellite signals and for cable television, but we pay for access to platform. And in the case of press, we pay for the edition, and we pay it in wholesale and retail, and we do not. And this channel of communication has one more barrier of access, and so it is described here. This is the audience, reputation, professionalism, and the second part is how to earn money, where to find customers, how to work, and with whom, and what can be done with business, what can be done with the community. And here we may find answer how this content, this controlling mission improves the audience, the reputation, money, and the opportunity to earn. What we see from the last research, several slides that are the most important, I believe. So if we are here today speaking about regional journalism and the local media, let's pay attention to this first line. Here are regional media, and we see that the highest level of support, about 80%. So what channels have you been watching for the last 30 days, and the regional level, the most used printed media? There are many reasons why. Sometimes there is no regional television. If we are speaking about small settlements, maybe they are covered 50,000 plus. Maybe there is coverage by internet. Internet coverage is not included. And it is confirmed 42% increase we see in the segment, in the digital segment. So there is increase here, and the trust is still there. One more important thing, the trust. And this year, the researchers said that trust increases. The biggest increase is in television and local internet media, 52% and 56%. And the biggest growth in two categories, and this growth, you see it, this is the biggest increase. For radio 33, and for printed media 35, and here 10%, and here also 10%. So the biggest dynamics is here in the electronic media. Television is considered digital one. So this is about dynamics. This is about future. This is about where we should look at, and why people distrust. 80% of mistrust for main first indicators. So first and second, the biggest distrust: information does not look trustworthy. There are no proven facts, and this is 40% of mistrust. 20% the news are provided from only one side, and there should be complex information that is provided, and also 15%, and this is not enough facts, and not enough facts provided. The information is not worked on properly, and for example, you do not like the language, maybe people feel some manipulations, and there can be some paid journalism, and this is so the information doesn't look trustworthy, and the information is provided only from one side. So I took it from BBC, and we should remember about these matters. We should put it everywhere. These are 6 key motives used by people, why people search, why they use media, why would they pay, why they are ready to overcome those barriers. So this more rational part. So I would like to know the information. Person wants to know what is going on. Also, person wants to be in the trend, to understand where it is heading, and also people want to have prospects, what to expect, to have some forecasts. Second part is more developing and relaxing. This is inspiration, ideas, show me how I can reach something, inspire me, teach me, tell me what I can do, or I want to do something new, or, for example, entertain me. Also important motivation. People go home in the evening. We do not want to be trained or to work. We just want to be entertained. And what we have today, de facto. So entertainment materials In all channels, they are on the third place, and on the radio, they take second place. Maybe this is FM radio. There is a lot of music, and they get news, and they expect news from FM radio, but news blocks are small on the radio. And so people respond to what they have. So for media, so maybe the researchers would correct me. When I survey people about what they want to read, they cannot say what they want to read. They say what they like or what they dislike, and they do not want to say what they really want. So they put what they watch on the place what they want to watch or read. So first place, local news. I am speaking about local media outlets. First, news, local news, investigative journalism. And do you remember the slide about trust? Please turn back the slide. Do you remember the slide about mistrust? This slide. You remember that there is 20% of mistrust, and the news are not provided in a good way. Only one side is represented. And about analytical and news materials, do researchers differentiate between them? So we're speaking about more analytical materials, but it is difficult to differentiate them. So entertainment materials and interviews with local leaders. So interviews with local leaders, where should we put it in this table? So to be in the trend, to show the prospects, to inspire. So it can be anything. These are different things. And I believe that this thing is really useful. But three first points, they can be included here. News, entertain me, and the investigations, maybe put in trend and prospects. So here we have such a picture that is provided by BBC, and Dmitro Shishkin headed Vesti of Russia, and he had the digital unit of BBC, and the data he provided are based on data of BBC Russia, and I do not think that we really differ. So this curve is the number of materials. You see that we have the biggest number of news materials. So people are interested. So the biggest involvement of people want to know, they want to have the materials to see the trends, but they have the biggest number of news. They are less interested in watching them and clicking them. Second important thing. So summing up, when we are speaking about investigations, we are speaking about methods that can be used by you. Let's look at reforms. And here, constructive journalism. So news are important, but here people are more interested in the trends. Teach me, tell me about opportunities of reforms of healthcare, for example. And what we see in this reform of decentralization, people say that they have enough information. 55% say they have enough information. In other reforms, 50-50. So people are ready to get information. The information is not enough, and a lot can be done in this area. And also, a lot can be done in decentralization area. And you should think what information to provide about this topic. So content and money, I started with this topic. So the media changes and the demands change, and the readiness to pay changes, and the communities. So what is decentralization? These are the reforms in local governance, the creation of territorial communities, and transfer of power to united territorial communities. And what is going on with the media? What is the relation between the decentralized regions, and what is the relation between the media and decentralized regions. And they say that, no mic, sorry, I do not hear. So do they highlight the activity? And what do they do? You don't know what they do. They do something, right? I do not hear the audience. So our community, this is the Poltava region. Another paper, 16 pages. So this is a paper that is created by 3 graduates. A very professional paper, and this paper is registered as Bulletin. My Community newspaper. This is the example of cooperation between the paper and the sugar plant. So here you may see the sugar plant on the front page, and then the second page of this paper. So something should be changed. Maybe there are opportunities, but journalists sometimes cannot use these opportunities. And then we were in Mirgorod yesterday, and we had a discussion for editors and local communities and local power and local business. And we asked why there are some old media, and some people just want to close old media, and they say that the life is here, like in the paper on the screen. So we discussed these issues, and there is lack of communication among themselves. And the regional media say that, for example, they are given 500 and they need 10,000, so there is no common language, and we should have constructive journalists. And here there is constructive journalist, because this is the basis. And we should not wait. And I brought a pack of these regional papers, and they are created by territorial communities in cooperation with the business, with farmers, in cooperation with sugar plants, and some communities, they create digital papers. And I spoke with the PR manager of one of the communities. She said that they have electronic media, but they do not have big coverage. And what about paper? I asked, and she said that we should establish cooperation with the papers. And she said, yes, I will go and try to do this. So, summing up the discussion in Mirgorod. So the papers of the communities, the motivation, they want to do their own paper. They do not want to communicate, they want to create their own paper. They create it in cooperation with local business. And the communities, for them it is easier to establish contacts with business. But we should also take our place there. And they provide bulletins about the communities, and also they create some good professional media materials, and the analytical materials are lacking. There are more news, and sometimes there's different content in different regions, but the model is the same concerning the paper. So they are faster in implementation, they do it quickly, and sometimes there is no good correction of the paper, but also we understand that we need to research, we need to study them. We are not in a vacuum. We cannot just blame everyone and build on this. There is audience, and the audience wants this. Communication is needed for local business and power and community, and we should build on this, because otherwise we will lose. So we should be constructive. I'm speaking more about business. This model is based on content and on cooperation, and it really is worth our attention. So this is really good. We should not forget that we have such good things. So this is the last slide, and now I give the floor two researchers. So I didn't study the situation about the number of copies. 500, 1,500, so this is only a start. So first let's hear the speeches of our speakers, and then we will go to questions.
Miss Svetlana Vinoslavska, you are welcome. Good afternoon. I am Svetlana Vinoslavska. I'm commercial director, deputy commercial director of Kantar company. We have been working with various mass media sources. The results of our research concern some other sphere. When we analyzed mass media sources, we used age, sex, and other indicators. There were questions. It was hard for us to segment the audience some other way, but when we started to work with, cooperate with ministry and other state structures who are oriented to communication with audience in a very targeted manner, so that they can understand the needs of population. So we propose such characteristics for segmentation as it differs. The segmentation takes as a basis the public activism of population and attitude to how citizens can influence the power, the regime, and the society, and the understanding that something could be changed. Under this criteria, we got 5 segments. 2 segments are more active. 10% of citizens are most active citizens of Ukraine. These people have higher educational background and higher revenues. They have their own small businesses or big businesses, and they are interested in growing in Ukraine and living in Ukraine. The next segment is 20%. It has been decreasing. We see the trend that active skeptics, 20% segment, is tend to join with active citizens because active citizens, they seem to start migrating. Their share has dropped. Who are active skeptics? They are Ukrainians who are very interested in everything which is happening in Ukraine, social, economic, and political spheres. All reforms, they are of interest for them. The format of information is not very important for them. They compare this information from various sources and produce their own analysis. And there is very large group of ordinary citizens. If the information is interesting, they consume it. They are just consumers of information. To hook them, you need special bytes. There is also a segment of inert audience, 30% larger. If you want to address them, it would be very hard, but you should change the manner of information provision. There is also 10% segment of people who are totally alienated. They will not read anything because they are not interested in anything. So when we made this analytical materials, we saw that there are no differences by sex or by age. There is some difference between regions. In the south and in the east, there are less, the segment of active citizens is lower. When you orient to some city or some region, you should understand that these segments will differ in your city or region from the general national situation. So the citizens who are active, it is interesting that village dwellers, they are more represented in this group. They monitor and they are interested in Ukraine's development and their family development. Active skeptics are more of declarative nature. They will be active if some threshold, some boundary will be reached by mass media source, and they will do something together with active people, but they should understand the action plan. It is very important for them. They are focused on executive authorities activities, but they are skeptic somewhat that active citizens can change something in Ukraine. If you look on the man in the street or ordinary man segment, they hope that the the regime will do everything which what they promised before the election. Their attitude, their moods are very negative. On the one hand, they want to trust in the regime, but every day they got the proofs that the executives do everything in their own manner. The inner segment, 30%, if you want to stir up this 30% of inert people, it is hard. First, you should address the segment of ordinary people. Then maybe the segment of inert people will follow this ordinary people's segment and stir up their activities. If you look onto the sources of information, which sources of information are perceived by Ukrainians. We conducted the research for the Council of Europe. We can see here, as my colleague has already said, if the information concerns some local activities, then it is specific channel of communication. Local channels and regional channels are very important, and the level of trust in them is very high, even higher than the trust in national channels. This is what my colleagues has already found. As concerns the information, the channels, the main format, the main media format is TV channels, regional TV broadcasting and regional newspapers. They do not lose their importance. They are very important for understanding the general processes in Ukraine ongoing. Let's look at how can we address this audience. First, active skeptics and active citizen segments, they get information first of all, and they are capable to perceive it, to analyze it, to read it. They are capable to get information from authorities, and the language, bureaucratic language, is not a barrier for them. They have higher educational background and they are interested. For other categories, for other segments, this is more complicated source of understanding this information. Also, while active skeptics are capable of analyzing the information, then ordinary people and totally alienated people segment, they could not understand this information. Internet communication and word of mouth is important for active skeptics. Internet is very important for active citizens. Active skeptics, they respond via internet channels, via the web. This way they share information. Ordinary people, they are more oriented to TV channels and to newspapers. If at the regional level you will communicate them this information in a relevant manner, in due manner, then it would be very interesting and important because they trust and they want to get this information. As concerns the segment of totally alienated people, they only watch TV, entertainment programs, which do not those programs, they watch programs which do not provide news. They are not interested in news, so it is very hard to address them. There are regional, there are different sources of information, all rating TV channels and all high-rating internet editions. They are important for all groups or for all segments of population, except totally alienated ones. For the segment of active citizens, they watch many different channels. As you can see, 1+1 Zig, Fifth channel, and other channels. For active skeptics, 1+1 STB, 112, 24 Zig. For ordinary people, ICTV, 112 channel, and First National. Inert people, they watch Inter. And as concerns the internet, the citizens, they watch, they read many sources such as Correspondent.net, Pravda.com.ua. So the participation, various segments partake in different manners. Active citizens, they use various forms of participation in activities. Active skeptics, they also may take part in social activities. So, what should you do to be heard indeed? First, you should select your audience and correct channels, communication channels. First, you need to understand and study your audience to take into account specifics of various segments. Of course, it is, let's say, expensive to study your audience, but you need the feedback. You should communicate actively. If activity is high, the level of activity is high, then you will get the result. Then you also should change the format, the shape of providing information, because the needs of citizens differ. In our research, we had the case the information should be abundant. It should demonstrate how this information will influence the citizens' future. Then people should understand the information should be in such a shape that people can understand it. For example, in figures, if we say that the state has not received enough earnings, we should demonstrate that the lack of money in the state, it should be interpreted in such indicators as the number of cars, the number of healthcare institutions, which these people will not get in future because of this lack of national budget earnings. People should understand how their families will live in future and how this or that fact will influence their lives. And the last thing, which is also important, people need the action plan, what to do. We should demonstrate positive cases, best cases, how people, what people did, success stories. They can demonstrate that people can change their lives, not the authorities. This is what people say. I just communicate to you the expectations of our citizens. They cannot bear all this negative information which is abundant on TV and newspapers. In order to believe in them, to become self-confident, they need best cases from other regions or maybe from other countries. They need action plans and roadmaps. I'm giving the floor to Ms. Katerina Zagriwenko, who has produced the new research, and people, this made us happier because average editor-in-chief now can be proud that we are more trusted now. All mass media are more trusted now.
So this research was really interesting, and it is important that this is done not for the first time, and we may see the trend. We carried out it for 4 years, and you may see how the country changed and how the attitude to media changed. I would like to draw your attention and to focus on the indicators concerning regional media and what can be done with it. So this is some sort of inspiration for you, I hope, in my speech. So you've seen these figures several minutes ago, but the main I want to focus on is that the use of the regional media increases, not only year by year, but also in the long-term prospect. And this is mostly about internet media outlets, internet platforms where you can get news. And the importance of regional printed media is the biggest compared with the indicators at the overall, compared with the overall national media. So we have the increase, but if we look at long-term period starting 2015, it increases, but mainly at the same level. If we are speaking at the regional level, and the trust to regional media, it increases more. And here there is development, and people feel this development. So you do something right. You are moving in the right direction. So why people trust the media? How this trust is formed? So I would say that this is not only your achievement. People, through experience, they learned how to identify those sources that they can trust. So they use several sources. This is an overall practice for everyone. So you should trust, but you should check at the same time. So if I see this information in several sources, maybe it is correct, and I will trust this information. The next one is the quickness of getting the information, how quick this information was provided. So the trust, so the live streams are important, and people may witness those events that then they see in the news. And the knowing to whom some news outlets or TV channels belong to, the ownership. Whether the information is correct or not, and also media literacy, to understand what materials are just paid for, and people are interested who own the channel, and how it can influence the interpretation of the information. Also, the differentiation of fakes, and there is skeptic attitude of people towards information. People want to verify the information in order to establish whether it is fake or not. This is something subjective, and maybe it is based on the personal attitude to the source of information, to the topic you are to the topic, and people say that they can understand what is fake and what is not, and also people also may understand what materials are paid ones. About, for example, the paid materials on request on some producer or some store network. So whether people sympathize with some leaders, whether they like them, their attitude towards those leaders. So people have different attitudes to materials. Maybe if we compare the overall, the national media and the regional media, there are some advantages of the regional media, because this information is close to people. This is about family, about people they live with, and about the current situation in their region, about the events that are ongoing in the region. People may get information about those events, and it is easier to do it at the regional level. And national media often get information from regional media. So some opinion leaders at the local level, they provide information, and for people it is important. People want to have people in whom they can trust. And in Colombia, we have such an example when the head doctor of the children's hospital, he is a public figure, and he addressed people on the regional TV channel, and he provides awareness campaign for people, and this increases the trust to information that is provided by the channel. And also there are challenges for you, and you should pay attention to this. So this is about the quality of provision of information. People understand that national news, they may have more resonance, and they are provided in more active manner. And regional news, they lose their brightness, and they look more ordinary, more common, But people want to see what is going on in their region. They want to have interesting, bright materials. So there is deficit of journalist investigations. Some additional materials are not provided, and people expect this from regional press and TV channels and regional internet outlets. So they see it at the national level, and they understand that this can be done at local level, and there should be proper explanation of events at regional level, and they expect this. So also people understand that some materials and some outlets, they can belong to someone, and they can be used in PR purposes to the benefit of some individuals, and they can use those sources for their own purposes. So people expect from the media such things. I believe you understand these things. So this is fairness and truthfulness for them. They understand it as an independence and fair information. Next, objectivity in covering the topic, also timeliness. The importance of this component increases. Pay attention to this, and the objectivity decreases. So for me now, it is more important to have this information in time. So for people, this is more important than even than objectivity. So full coverage of information. So different opinions and the precise information should be provided, not some overall common phrases. They want to have precise information. Also, a separation of the facts from the comments. For people, it is important that to reach their own conclusions. And one more important component, when we had focus group, the expectation of results. If something happened, if there was some journalist investigation, what was the result? What changes happened? And they expect that materials that they read would provide the instruction for actions, or they want to find out about the consequences. So it shouldn't be forgotten both at national and local levels. And now several words about the research. This research was supported by Internews project, and it was carried out in two parts. The quantity research and the focus group, and we had more than 4,000 people, and the representative part 1,640 interviews. So this research is about what is objectivity, what is timeliness, and other things. We had 8 groups in different cities of Ukraine, with interviews with people who consume news, and we try to find out what they mean by what they say. So we had such a story when we worked with several local regional media. They said not so bright about the opportunities, and the journalists, they like Mr. Eric, they said, "Oh, what are you saying? Can we do it at the regional level? It is possible to do it in Kiev, not in the regional level." And we invited them, and we said what can be done with their resources at the regional level. And now I give the floor to our next colleague.
Please switch on my presentation. I will stay here till the end. I would like to see the battle between editors-in-chief Chernyavsky and Fedorenko, who is the owner of our Kiev website, but if Mr. Chernyavsky will wins, I will agree, because I think that within further 2 years, next 2 years, we should bet for internet media. Who are from mass media, internet mass media, who work on the web and who work in printed mass media? I am here to represent local mass media development agency. We were created to 2017. We have 16 regional newspapers and 10 will be established within this year. I will tell you what we are doing in our agency. Just a minute. Look. As previous speakers have already said, we have here Irina Sitnik, Petropavlovka, Dnipropetrovsk region. And as colleague says, at her website there are 65-70% of traffic, mobile web applications. People read you 70% from their mobiles. We have our own online platform. Those people mistake that it is difficult to start the website and you will become successful within 1 year. No, the internet platform, the web platform, it needs many investments. We have mentors in our team. In the team, all people are either owners of mass media sources or editors-in-chief. There are no theoreticians in our team, only practitioners, and we add mentors to our team. New formats, I think. The changed information, the information when we place it on web, its format should be changed, new formats to be invented. Very many obstacles of technical nature will arise if you do not have good technical support, and the last step is monetization. Our city websites in such towns where 10,000 people live or 100,000 people live. For example, in Nizhny Saraguzi town, we launched the website for the municipality, although I had not believed that it would be possible. Now you will see the map, and on the map you see our plans. The yellow marks are for the towns where our website would appear soon. For the newspapers represented here, two websites were established not by journalists but by ordinary people who were not in journalism before. It is what Oleksiy said, these people are more flexible and they are capable of absorbing all new information, so you should take this into account. This is our network. On the map, how mass media sources should look like. We are talking not only about journalism. We orient our editorials to be agents of changes. Our editors-in-chief may hold social actions. We do our best to create some community around our editorial, about around our team as a kernel. Like in Petropavlovka, for example, there is arena. They have newspapers, they have website, and they can easier find characters for their stories. How we invent formats and content. We focus on useful content. We explain everything in simple terms. For example, how to register declaration for district physician. We carry out many competitions and rating contests so that people are entertained. We are practitioners, we do this, we heard this in theory from our previous speaker. Here you see two examples of website Bilyayevka, Odessa region. They held two contests for women, like most influential women of Bilyayevka, and after online contest, the event was held online. There was a online and offline activities were conducted together. Educational projects. And then you see here two boys. One boy is very good in IT, and he was offered to produce videos for other boys on IT. So 5 or 6 videos have already been produced, and our editor just placed it on our website because the boy produced videos himself. Also, editors analyze declarations, statements, and budgets, documents, so that communities can easier understand how the budget is spent. Understanding your specifics, everyone comes to your own hometown. After this training, you come home and you start your everyday life. We in our editorial, we carry out battles every week. For example, to generate caption videos or radios, and for each assignment completed, we hand out some bonuses, and bonuses could be exchanged, for example, for notebooks or other valuable goods for journalists. So these competitions, they make lives of our team members interesting, and mentors even compete for getting more these bonuses which we produce in the form of ecrans. So our mentors, they are interested in taking part in our contests. In Bilinsky city, you can see their website on screen. The editors of the website, which are already available, we invite them. They can be easier known in their regions. For example, in Bilinsky city, if the Bilinsky city website will earn 50,000 or at least 25,000 hryvnias. You see the article where Bilinsky city editor-in-chief shares how their website became the success, earning 25,000. Every 2 months I understand that I am already lagging. I want to enter every 2 months some new trend. When you come to some district and upon arrival you see that there is a newspaper which is black and white with only 4 rubrics, then you feel yourself in the past. So we think you should go then to digital formats, to the web. I think if you understand that electronic media are our future, it would be good for you to develop on the web. We have 5 or 7 minutes for questions and comments, so you are welcome. The speakers talk to us in the website. Not always are websites, they are newspapers and websites at the same time. You know that only 3% of startups survive, only 3% after 1 year develop further. So the newspapers were established on the basis of former newspapers, state-owned newspapers. So they have the only assets which they inherited, and even where we have mentors or editors. Out of 16 websites, we can praise only 10, and 6 are not working efficiently. So there are some fears among editors that it is hard to establish a website or a platform. But I think you can go to Dmitry and ask him how to monetize, how to establish the website. Sergei Gritsenko, I represent the Internews Network, the U.S. independent organization, and we are the customers of this polls. I would like to thank the speakers for their vivid presentations and stories. I lost myself whether I am an active skeptic or an ordinary person, because I watch STB and ICTV channels. But what is interesting in Irina's research, people understand what they watch and what helps them to be more critical, skeptical, or media informed. I also have the same approach. ICTV new channel of 1+1. it is fun how this oligarch-owned mass media channels fight between each other. It is very interesting for us to know the target audience. You have demonstrated the map. Why you are not presented in central Ukraine? In 2017, we had 120 applications. This year, we had 68 applications. We had 60 questions in our questionnaire. We expanded the list of questions, so this is a competitive selection. So those regions where the information coverage is low, this is where we establish our activities. We analyze whether we can earn in the region. Editorials could develop themselves, earn themselves further. So historically, the picture looks like this. In this research, I thought to ask the following question. For 5 years, many new mass media sources have been created, but they are not represented in research. They do not research, and we try to invent something new, but the views of populations remain conservative. This is not a good condition of the marketplace, because there are many very good websites, but they are not known and they are not named. They are named, but by a very small share of audience. If you look on the target audience, you will see a very long list. Talking about active citizens or active skeptics, they demonstrate very interesting attitudes, and they are conscious in their choice of TV channels. This is vector, this is gradient, this is important. This should be researched in detail, because the Ministry of Justice, they had the goal how to address the audience, to communicate them information about the reforms. They should know, they wanted to know how to communicate the information to this audience. The website you demonstrated, it is brilliant. I like it very much. People need step-by-step instructions, interactive discussions, sharing success stories. It is embarrassing. I am very happy to see your product. Thank you, Ms. Svetlana and Katerina, for so detailed research. I felt the segmentation, but when you talk to partners or state authorities, you cannot use your feelings to prove something, but you can use the findings. We can use the findings of your research. I have a question to Mr. Oleksiy Pogorelov. The newspapers in amalgamated territorial communities, are they free of charge or are they paid? Maybe they are cases of corruption. There are different cases. Some newspapers are free of charge. Some newspapers are distributed by subscription. I know that in Zaporizhia we have newspapers free of charge. When we said that when you go to web, then your newspapers are free of charge. In your opinion, what are the reasons? Why is it so? Like in anything else, local teams where they're weak, where professionals are weak, on local level at some sites, this is not my mass media source. If I am a top manager of this mass media source, maybe I would have changed the personnel. We cannot motivate those mass media sources in our network who work inefficiently. Of course, the acrons, our bonuses, they work. Good afternoon, Alena Romaniuk. I am the editor of Information Campaign. On the other side of the news, I have the question. I looked your research. I have critical perception of some figures in your research about genes and fakes. Even yesterday, all top media, Deutsche Welle, Ukrainian, Pravda, New Time, posted Spiegel material on the tax evasion of 750 million people. It was the research ordered by the party which is pro-Russian. So the question is, what is your opinion whether the evaluation by people how they can counteract genes, materials, and the reality, whether they coincide. Of course, the research demonstrates overestimated results because individuals may say that they can do something, but in fact, in reality, they do not do. So we can anyway mention the positive trend, maybe not 70% as we see in our research, but step by step, small changes, small positive trends are demonstrated. There was one research when we handed out to various respondents different articles from newspapers so that they tell us whether this is genes material or real, not ordered by someone materials of journalism. David Billy, political Kherson region mass media source. I have a question. Could you please comment? Maybe information could be distorted. There are 1+1 inter Ukrainian Pravda, who I can trust in or not trust in. There are no regional mass media sources in general. When we ask in general, this could distort the reality. Of course, we ask in general whether you trust in this channel of information communication. Of course, people give their answers based on their practices, based on the channel they watch. Of course, if we give breakdown by channels, we will get the other data broken down by data. The figures will be lower. Of course, people produce their attitudes based on the channels they watch. And of course, this is further interpolated. We carry out online tracks since 2014 when we started to have the changed political environment. And we asked the question about trust in Ukrainian and trust in Russian mass media sources. So within this year, we can observe the change to higher confidence in Ukrainian mass media sources. This demonstrates that the information is provided in Ukrainian mass media as more correct. So this is the aggregated indicator we measure. Thank you very much to our speakers. As concern our further steps, we will have lunch in an hour. We will gather for further panels. We have several other best case successful stories which work independently, mass media working independently, or those who we want to partner with. Control over road and health, road repair and healthcare system are most resonant topics we will address. How can we work in future together with our partners with several other projects we will discuss after lunch. People are waiting for this, so how to do steps by this year and then the next year, despite of the elections which are planned next year. We will launch the network of constructive journalism online, where there will be methodological support, the questions how to complete some assignments, step-by-step instructions, so you will be able to enter your requests, public requests to us, and we will answer in this network. When I work as a consultant to the ministry, I will tell you how constructive, well-balanced and professional request works. Everyone becomes alarmed in the ministry. Emotional but non-professional requests, they do nothing. But professional requests are of very high influence. And also, please fill in our questionnaires. We need feedback from you.